Good morning, guys. In the last session, we discussed about several commands in the Linux. Like we discussed about VA command. VA stands for Visual Editor, which is used to edit the files in the Linux machine. And we discussed about sed command. Sed stands for Stream Editor. It is used to process the file data. By using this sed command, without opening the file, we can substitute the keywords in the file. We can delete the lines in the file. We can insert the lines in the file by using sed command. Then after, we discussed that Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple users can access single Linux machine at a time with different user accounts. So in one Linux machine, we can create multiple user accounts. So here, in order to create the user accounts, first we are connecting with the Linux machine. When we create that Linux machine, by default one user account is available. That user account we are using to connect with that machine. The default user account we are having in the Linux, which is EC2 user. Okay, EC2 user having all the privileges to perform operations in the Linux machine. By using that EC2 user account, we are creating other user accounts in the Linux machine. So we have used user add command. This is used to create a new user in the Linux machine. For that user, we are setting the password also. And we are able to see all the users available in the Linux machine. We are able to switch from one user to another user, and we can delete the user. We can delete the user along with the home directory, and we can change the username also by using chmod, so by using user mode command. And after this, I have given one assignment for you, how to enable password based authentication in the Linux machine. So currently we are connecting with the Linux machine by using PEM file. So we created Linux machine by using key pair, that is a PEM file. So by default EC2 user available. We connected with this machine by using PEM file. Now how to connect with the Linux machine by using username and password. Okay, so anyone completed this assignment?
Yes, sir.
You completed this assignment. Can you tell me the process, how you have implemented this task?
In order to enable password-based authentication, we need to open the SSH configuration file
Very
using
good.
the command sudo ne and home directory like etc ssh. That command we need to use
SSHD
and
underscore config.
Yes.
underscore config, and we need to set the password authentication to yes. By default,
Yes.
it will be no, so we
Mhm.
need to set it as yes, and then we
Permit
need
root
to
login.
save and exit the editor, uh, and we need to restart the service in order to apply the changes.
Okay, very good, sir. Super. Good. Anyone else? So how you find this solution, sir? So you have idea already, or you have done some research?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, sir. I set password for EC2 user sir first. Then I went to SSH config file. Then I
Yeah.
enabled it is by default it is no.
Okay.
Then by insert mode I changed the test and then W quit save and quit, and then after sir what I did is uh, then again I go to EC2 user sir without giving that key pair. Directly I given the public ID address, IP address, SSH EC2 user at the rate public ID address. Then I connect to sir.
Okay,
Then
very
after
good.
create, then after I create user sir, then in config file it shows that some mistake I did sir actually. Then
Okay.
after.
Okay. Okay.
Then ECT user is a permission denied option is happens. What I
Oh,
did.
okay. Okay. Good. So fine, guys. So the task is by default in the Linux machine, password based authentication will be no. We need to enable that password based authentication in the Linux machine. Okay. So to do this operation, we need to modify some configuration files in the Linux operating system. So Linux operating system is file based operating system. Everything will be stored in the file only. So here we need to understand two important files in the Linux machine, guys. So the three important files will be available basically in the Linux machine. One is called sudoers file. and the second one is SSHD config file will be available. Okay, and the third one will be bash RC file will be available. Okay, when we are working with the Linux operating system, especially when the DevOps people are working with the Linux machine, Linux administrators are working with the Linux machine, they will touch these three files, guys. So these three files are very important files to use that Linux machine. First one is sudo file, and the second one is sshd config file, and the third one is bash rc file. Okay, so what is this sudo file in the Linux operating system? Okay, so currently we are connecting with the Linux machine as a EC2 user. EC2 user can perform all the operations in the Linux machine. EC2 user is having the root user privileges. Sudo privileges are available for the EC2 user. Okay, now in this Linux machine, I'm going to create sudo user add some John. I created one new user called John user. For the John, I want to set some password. Okay, for the John, I want to set the password. Okay, now John user got created. John user got created. How can I switch to the John user? Sudo su John. So I switch it to John user. Go to home directory of the John user. Yes, I'm able to go to the home directory of the John user. Now try. Currently I connected with this machine as a John. Sudo user add Smith. Okay. Now I'm trying to create the another user by using John. So it is asking John password. I'm giving John password. Now see here. If you observe the process that I am following, sudo user add. Currently, I connected with this machine as a EC2 user. So EC2 user is a default user in the Linux machine. EC2 user will have all the privileges. Using that EC2 user, I have created another user called John user. User add command I have used. Then I have configured password for the John user. Okay, password is updated successfully. Then from EC2 user account, I switch it to John user account by using sudo su command. Su nothing but switch user. So from EC2 user account, I want to switch to John user account. Fine, I switch it to John user account. After that, I have used cd tilde command. Cd tilde command is used to navigate you to the logged in user home directory. Okay, I came to John user home directory. Now, as a John user, I want to create another user account. Earlier, as EC2 user, I created John user. Now, I connected with this machine as a John user and I want to create an account for Smith user. So when I'm trying to create the account for the Smith user, it is saying John is not in the sudo file. Boss, your John user does not have the required privileges to perform admin operations in the Linux machine. But with the EC2 user, I'm able to create the John account. But as a John user, I'm not able to create the another user account. So what is the meaning of that? Whatever the John user account we created, for that user, root privileges are not available. Admin privileges are not available to perform the operations, to perform admin activities in the Linux machine. But we connected with EC2 user. EC2 user is a default user. That EC2 user will have admin privileges also. As a EC2 user, we can perform anything in the Linux machine. Are you guys getting my point? Are you guys getting my point? So why we are getting this problem? When I'm trying to create a new user by using John, my user is created or it is giving some error for me. Can you guys read this error? Why we are getting this error?
Ashok?
Can you read this error, guys? Someone?
Yeah, Ashok, I also got the same error while switching from the created user to the EC2 user.
You should not switch directly, sir. You need to execute exit command. Okay, I think you tried like this: sudo su ec2-user, right?
Yes, the same error came.
Yeah. So John user not in the sudo file. So
Yes.
here I am using two accounts, guys. In this Linux machine, two accounts available. One is EC2 user account is available, and I connected with this EC2 user and I created John user. EC2 user having admin privileges, John user is a normal user. John cannot perform sudo operation because John is not a sudo user. John is not a super user in this Linux machine. John is a normal user. It is like admin and normal user. So EC2 user is like an admin user. John is a normal user. EC2 user can perform everything, but John cannot perform everything in the Linux machine. Are you guys getting my point? You understand what is the difference here between the EC2 user and the John user? As a EC2 user, I'm able to create a John account. But as a John user, I'm not able to create the Smith account. When I try to create another account using John user account, it is saying John is not in the sudoers file. And from the John user account, I want to switch back to EC2 user. It is saying John is not in the sudoers file. Here also, I'm getting the same error. Here also, I'm getting the same error. So guys, are you able to follow me? Why we are getting this error? Can anyone speak out? Why we are getting this error when we perform sudo operation with the John?
John is not
Because
a
it
sudo.
has
Because John is normal
admin
user.
privilege.
He's not admin user.
John is a normal user. John is not a admin user. John don't have all the permissions in the Linux machine. But with EC2 user, we are able to perform all the operations. So how come as a EC2 user, we are able to perform all the operations?
EC2 is having admin.
EC2 user is not created by us. It is by default we are getting. Whenever we create that Linux machine, we are getting that EC2 user by default. That is having all the privileges. Okay, that's why with EC2 user we are able to perform admin activities also. But John account we created. That account does not have all the permissions. Now, how to make other users also as a admin user? How to give the all the privileges? How to give the sudo privileges? Sudo privileges nothing but admin privileges, guys. Sudo means super user. Sudo means super user doing in operation in the Linux machine. How to make John user as a sudo user? That's where
Sir, I have you way.
That's where there is a file called sudoers file is available in the Linux machine. Okay, it is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. So whatever the sudoers file is available, that sudoers file is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. So what we are going to do by using this sudoers file? Using sudoers file, we can define permissions for the users. What that user can perform, what command that user can execute, how that user can execute, that we can decide by using sudoers file in the Linux machine. Now, whatever the permissions EC2 user is having, same permissions I want to give for the John user also. Then you need to configure the John user in the sudoers file. So sudoers file is a very important configuration file in the Linux machine. Using this file, we can control which user can run command as a super user in the Linux machine. Okay, where this sudoers file is available in the Linux machine, the sudoers file you can see sudo cat command we are using /etc/sudoers. Okay, so this is the location of the file. etc directory is available, guys. In that etc directory, sudoers file is available. Okay, using this, you can print the content of that file. But currently, I connected with this machine as a John user. Let me try to access it. Okay, password for John. I'm trying to give you this password. Now, am I able to print the content of that file? Why I am not able to print the content of that file?
John
I
is
connected as a John user. John user having the permissions to do this operation? No. So I want to come out from the John user. How to come out from the John user? Exit. I came out, I logged out from the John user account. I came to my base account, which is called EC2 user account. Now let me execute same command, sudo command. When I execute sudo command with the John, it is saying, John, you don't have that permission. Now I'm executing same command as a EC2 user. Okay, sudo cat /etc/sudoers file. Now we are able to print the content of the sudoers file. So this is a configuration file in the Linux machine, guys. So without having proper knowledge on the Linux operating system, we should not touch these configuration files. If you do a small mistake in the configuration file, your Linux machine will be corrupted. You can't use that Linux machine. So because Linux is file-based operating system, everything will be available in the files only. If you make a small mistake while editing that file, your operating system will be corrupted. You cannot use that Linux machine. That's why you need to be very careful when you are working with this kind of configuration files. In the real time, as a developer, we will not work with all these configuration files. Separate Linux administration team will be available who is going to manage all these Linux machines in the company. For every project, 20 to 30 Linux machines will be available. Docker machine, Docker will be available in one Linux machine. Jenkins will be available in one Linux machine. Kubernetes will be available in the Linux machine. Nexus will be available in the Linux machine. ELK stack will be on the Linux machine. Logs will be on one Linux machine. Database will be on one Linux machine. Our application will be running on one Linux machine. So multiple Linux machines will be available in the real time. Those Linux machines will be managed by Linux administration team. Okay, but for knowledge, I am explaining what is this sudoers file and how to use this sudoers file. Okay, so currently as a EC2 user, I'm able to perform the sudo operations because EC2 user is a default user account which is having all the privileges. So here I want to make John as a sudo user. I want John is a manager in the team. John is a lead for the DevOps team. John user should have all the privileges in the Linux machine. How to give admin privileges? I can say sudo privileges for the John user. So to give sudo privileges for the John user, we need to configure the John in the sudoers file. So sudoers file is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. Using this file, we can control which user can run the command as a super user. Which user can run the command as a super user. How to print the command of this, how to print the content of this file. To print the content of this file, we are using sudo cat command /etc/sudoers. This is the name of the file. This is the path of that file. So cat command is used to print content of the file. If you want to print this file content, you should have sudo privileges. So EC2 user having the sudo privileges, that's why as a EC2 user, I'm able to print the content of that file. So we should be very careful when we are editing this file, guys. If we do any mistakes in the sudoers file, then our system will be crashed. We can't connect with that system. We should be very careful while working with the sudoers file in the Linux. If we do any mistake in the sudoers file, then our system will be crashed. You can't use that system. Okay. Now, how to give the sudo privileges for the normal user. Giving sudo privileges for the user. So in order to give the sudoers privileges for the normal user, open sudoers file. Open sudoers file. To open sudoers file, the command is vi sudo. What is the command, guys? It is vi sudo. So if you execute a command sudo vi sudo command, it will open this sudoers file. In that sudoers file, you can configure the user with the sudo privileges. Okay, so let me go here. Let me execute that command to open that user. Sudo privileges. How to give the sudo privileges? Sudo, I connected with as EC2 user. Sudo vi sudoers file I am going to use, right? What is the command? Sudo vi sudo. That means I want to edit the sudoers file by using visual editor. Vi sudo command I am using to edit that file. Yes, that file is opened. So here you no need to press I and all the stuff, guys. Directly you can configure your user. Scroll down. Already there will be root user. Yes, there is a root user available here. For the root user, allow the root to run any command from anywhere. Already for the root user, all the privileges are available. Now, for your user, if you want to give all the privileges, then configure user like below in sudoers file. Okay, so if you configure user like this, that means that user is having all the privileges in the Linux machine. That user can perform all the operations in the Linux machine. So now here, for which user you want to give the privileges, that username you can configure. All is equal to all : space all. That means for this user, I'm giving all the sudo privileges, that user can perform any operation in our Linux machine. Okay, now I want to configure sudo privileges for John user. For the John, I want to give all the privileges. For the John, I want to configure all the privileges. That's it. Similarly, if you have other user to whom you want to give the admin privileges, you can configure like this. So once you have done this configuration, how to save and close this file? In order to save and close this file, it is not just escape, guys. Control X, Y, enter. Control, you need to press Control X plus Y plus enter. 4 keys you need to press at a time, then that file will be closed. Okay, after making changes to close the sudoers file, what is the shortcut? This is the shortcut. Control plus X plus Y plus enter. Then the file will be closed by saving the changes. Let us verify our changes are saved in that file or not. Just print that file data. Yes, you can see here earlier root user is available. Now John user is available. John user is having admin privileges now. So what we can do by using EC2 user, same thing we can do by using John user also. Whatever we can do by using EC2 user, what are the admin activities we are able to do by using EC2 user, same admin activities we can perform by using John user also, because John user is added in the sudoers file. Okay, what is sudoers file in the Linux machine? Sudoers file is very important configuration file in the Linux machine. Using this file, we can control which user can run command as a super user. Print the sudoers file content by using sudo cat command. Here, how to edit that file. So how to configure sudo privileges for particular user. So open the sudoers file by using this command. Configure user like below in the sudoers file. So you can configure after root user details, you can configure this. You can give username, whatever the username that you want. Which user you want to make as a sudo user in your machine. So for that user, you can configure like this. So after making the changes to close the sudoers file, you can use Control X, Y plus enter. So that the file will be saved and the file will be closed. So with this, John user become sudo user. Now John user can perform all the admin activities in the Linux machine. Are you able to follow me? You got the point what is sudoers file in the Linux? And someone told that. So whenever they are using the John user, they are getting same error. So now I hope you got the clarity why you are getting that error and how to give the admin privileges for the user. Okay, so in the Linux machine, there are 3 important configuration files available. One is sudoers file. Second one is sshd config file. And the third one is bash rc file will be available. We'll talk about that. I hope you got the concept of what is the sudoers file in the Linux. Is it clear for everyone? Can you please respond?
Sir, could you
Yes,
show once again that command
Yes, sir.
on Unix prompt?
Sudo vi sudo. Here you can go here and you can execute sudo vi sudo. It will open that file. Then scroll down.
So can't we open, Ashok, can't we open using VA editor?
You can do that, sir. You can do that, but this is the recommended approach for these files. Yeah, here I have configured John user with all the privileges. Once it is done, then Control X, Y, enter. Then that file will be closed. Control plus X plus Y plus enter. Then that file is going to get closed. Sudo vi sudo command we are using to open Control X, Y. So that means I have not changed anything. When I don't change anything with the control X, it is getting closed. If you make some changes, control X plus Y plus enter. So it will save the changes and it will close that file. All right, fine. Now, next one, there is a file called sshd config file is available. So now let's understand how to enable password based authentication in the Linux machine. Okay, so currently I am using Linux machine. Let me exit from here. Now I want to connect with the Linux machine. So to connect with the Linux machine, we are using this SSH command. So in this SSH command, if you see, I am giving SSH space -i pem file name ec2 user. This is the username and this is the IP address of that machine. Currently, we don't know the password for the EC2 user. We don't know password for the EC2 user. So that is the reason we are connecting with the Linux machine by using pem file. Okay, so yes, by using pem file, we are connecting with the Linux machine. Let me exit. Yes, I exited. Now I know password for the John user. SSH space John @IP address. John @IP address. The public DNS is available. Let me take this public DNS and let me give that public DNS. Now I want to connect with this machine as a John user. Okay, what it is saying? Permission denied. Permission denied. It is not allowing me to connect with the John user. It is not allowing me to connect with the John user. It is saying that permission denied. So how to connect with the Linux machine as a John user? For the John user, I have created John user. Username I have given as John. Password I have given as John@123. So to connect with the machine, we know public IP of the machine. Okay. So for every Linux machine that we are creating, we are getting a public IP address. Using this public IP address, I want to connect with that machine. Tomorrow, when you are working in the project also, they will share the details like this. This is public IP address of the Linux machine which contain the log files. This is the public IP of the Linux machine which contain the log files. This is username of the machine. This is password of the machine. So can you connect with the Linux machine by using these credentials? But in order to connect with the Linux machine with the password, we need to enable password based authentication. How to enable password based authentication in the Linux machine? So by default, password based authentication is disabled in the Linux machine. That's why we are using pem file to connect with the Linux machine. So now how to enable that password based authentication in the Linux machine? To enable password based authentication in the Linux machine, we need to modify sshd config file. What is that file, guys? sshd config file is available. We need to modify that file. So how to modify that file? In the sshd config file, by default, password based authentication is no. So if you want to connect with the Linux machine by using passwords, then you need to set that value as yes. To enable password based authentication, we need to set that value as yes. So how to display the content of that config file? So this command is going to print the content of the config file. So if you see, this command is used to print the content of the sudoers file. This command is used to print the content of the config file, sshd config file. So let me take this command. Let me print the content of that file. First, let me connect with this machine as a EC2 user. Okay, right. Now, sorry, I connected with this machine sudo cat, yes. So this is the content of that machine, guys. This is the content of that file. So in this file, you can see there is a property password based authentication is no. Password authentication available as no. Okay. So you need to modify this one. By default, password based authentication is available. then you need to enable this password based authentication. You need to set the password based authentication as yes, then only we can connect with the Linux machine by using password. So we know the content of that file. Okay, then edit that file by using vi editor. You can go and edit the file. Sudo vi etc ssh config file. This is the file, the location of the file. Using vi editor, you can edit that file. So let me use this command and edit that file. Okay, go here, edit this file. File is edited. Scroll down. Check it where the password based authentication is available. That is by default no. Yes, password based authentication is no. Insert mode, edit that, set this value as yes. By default this value is no. I'm making this value as yes. Save this, then close it. Yes, I made the changes to sshd config file. This is a file. So here, once you have modified this file, you need to reload this service, guys. So we need to reload the service. To reload the service, we are using systemctl restart sshd service. Whatever the service is there, sshd service is available, we just need to restart the service. Okay, so how we will restart our Windows machine? When we install some software, it will ask to restart the system. So here, whatever the service we modified, sshd service we modified, after making the changes to that, we need to restart that service. Enter. Yes, service is restarted. Now we enable password based authentication in our machine. We enable password based authentication in our machine. So John user is having sudo privileges and I enable password based authentication in this machine. Now we should be able to connect with the machine by using username and password. Now we don't need any PEM file. Whatever the PEM file we use, that is not required to connect with this machine as a John user, because John user having sudo privileges and I enable password based authentication in this machine. I enabled password based authentication in this machine. Now let me exit. Now let me connect with this machine. SSH John, public IP of this machine. I have taken the public IP. Let me give public IP. Yes, I'm trying to connect this. Are you sure you want to connect? Yes, it is asking John password. I'm giving the John password, John@123. Yes, I connected to this machine as a John user. Earlier we connected to the machine as a EC2 user. Now I connected to this machine as a John user. So with this, we are able to access the Linux machine by using username and password using its public IP. So if you want to access like this, first you need to know how to make the changes to the sudoers file, how to make the changes to the sshd config file. So what is the purpose of the sudoers file? Sudoers file is used to configure users with the sudo privileges. SSHD config file we are using to enable password based authentication. We are enabling password based authentication. Are you guys clear? This is the task I have given yesterday. Okay, so you need to do the research like this. So whatever the task is there, you need to do some research and you need to implement that. Are we able to complete the task assignment that I have given yesterday? What is the assignment I have given? Enable password based authentication in the Linux machine. Create a new user. Log in into Linux VM with new user account credentials using username and password. Now, John user is available. By using John, can we create other users also?
Yes,
Guys?
now we can create.
By using John, can we create other users also?
Yes, sir. Now we can create.
How can we create?
Sir, I have one dot, sir.
Because we have changed
After adding
sudo user add log user. I'm creating one more user called log user. Sudo user add log user. Password it is asking for the John. Okay, as I'm doing admin activity, asking for the password. Yes, John log user got created. Can we set the password for the log user? Sudo password log user. I want to set the password for the log user log@123 and retype the password log@123. Password is updated successfully for the log user. Log user having the password now. So can we connect with this machine as a log user now? Can we see first of all what are the users available? cat/etc/password. Now you see EC2 user is available, Suresh user is available, John user is available, log user is available. So tomorrow the DevOps team will do all these admin activities and they will give you the user account to access log files of our application boss. So these are the log server details. These are the log server details. Our application is running in the production. Production log files are stored into this log server. This is the public IP of that log server, and this is the username of the log server, and this is the password of the log server. Finally, DevOps team will set up all this infrastructure. DevOps team will configure the Linux machine. They will enable the sudoers file. They will enable password-based authentication for you, and they will give one user account for you. They will give you public IP, they will give username, and they will give password. Using these details, you need to connect with that log server. Log server nothing but one Linux machine. In that Linux machine, you need to see the log files of your application. So in the background, they will edit SSHD config file, they will edit sudoers file, and they will set up all the users which are required, and they will give the user credentials for you. Using machine public IP, username and password, we can connect with the Linux machine. But first time when we create the Linux machine, we are connecting with this machine as a EC2 user. For EC2 user, password is not available. That is the reason we are using this PEM file to connect with this EC2 user account. So we want to connect with the Linux machine. For that, we are using this EC2 user. EC2 user is a default user. There is no password for the EC2 user. That's why we are using this PEM file. Are you clear with my point?
So first time there is no other way, right, Ashok? So
No,
we have to
first
log
time
in.
we have to connect with PEM file only. Once we connect with the PEM file, then we can create the users. We can configure them in the sudoers file. We can enable password-based authentication. Then onwards, we can connect by using username and password. First time that
So
PEM
in
file is
real
required.
time, okay. So in real time, let's assume my application is running in one Linux server. So each and every user in the team having the separate credentials or a common credentials?
Sir, generally, whenever it is a log file, for all of them, they will give the single account only, not new account for every user, because we are not doing any activity, right? Just we need to see the file data. So same credentials they will give for every user.
Okay.
So same mission, like public ID and different usernames, right?
So it depends on that. Sometimes for every user, they will create a separate account. They will give their own credentials. Or log server means generally one user account they will give to all the developers to see the log files.
Okay.
Sir, after enabling password, so what I have to use keyword to save and exit in config file, sir?
Just normal :WQ.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Open the file. Okay, edit that file, right? Enable password authentication. Open that file. Then set password based authentication as yes. Set password based authentication as yes. Password based authentication is no. Set password based authentication as yes. Then save and close the file. Okay, how to do that? Escape +:W. Normal visual editor. Na? Open the file and enter into insert mode. Press I. If you press I, then you will go to insert mode. Then like we have seen VI editor, na? Same thing. We are opening that file by using VI command. Then we will go to insert mode by pressing I. Then in that file, password authentication will be available as no. We will set it as yes. After setting it as yes, we will save and close that file by using escape +:WQ. Once it is done, we just need to restart the service. To restart the service, we are going to use this sudo systemctl restart SSHD. Once it is done, now we can connect with that server. Okay, to connect with the server, what is the command? Use below command.
Sir, Can you show us how to search a word in the Linux OS file? Like we have sudo file, right?
Yep.
Password based authentication is there. How we can search that strings?
Right. So this is the command which is used to connect with the username and password. SSH secured shell connection. What is the username you want to use and what is the public IP of that machine? With this command, you can connect with the Linux machine. When you try to connect with that machine by using this username, it will ask the password of that user account. So once you enter that password, you will be able to log into that machine. Okay, so how to enable password based authentication in the Linux? This is the process. Okay, so in the sshd config file, by default password based authentication is no. We need to set it as yes. These are the log server details. So by using these details, we can connect with the machine by using its username and password. I will show you once again. Now currently I connected with this machine as a EC2 user. Okay, let's come out from the EC2 user. Exit means log out. So I logged out from the EC2 user. Now I want to connect as a John user. John is also a sudo user. John can perform everything. How to connect with this machine as a John user? SSH. What
John,
is the username? John at the rate public IP of the machine. Go to EC2 instance and it contains public IP. Check the machine which is running here. For that machine, you can take the public IP address. So when you select your machine, it will give you the public IP. Copy that public IP address and use that public IP address here. Then you can connect. It is asking password first time when you are connecting. Enter the password of that user account. Yes. Now we are able to connect with the John user. Is it clear?
So in real time, who manages all these servers? Either Linux administrator or cloud engineer or
DevOps team and Linux administrators. So nowadays, every DevOps engineer is working as a Linux admin also.
Okay, so DevOps team should have idea on Linux
yes.
and cloud, everything, right?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Their main work will be there on the Linux machines only.
And DevOps team will share the everything password and
they will give you all the details for you, sir. Yes, they will give you all the details for you. Whatever is required to connect with that machine, what are the permissions are required, they will set up all these things and they will share it with you.
Sir, is it mandatory to provide the admin privileges before enabling username and password?
No, no. So you can enable password authentication without giving the admin privileges also for that user. If you don't give admin privileges to that user, he can perform normal operations. Okay, it's not mandatory that we need to give admin privileges for every user. Suppose you are a fresher in the team. I want to give you a user account for the Linux machine, but I don't want you to perform any admin activities. I will just create your user account and I will enable password authentication. I will not add your user in the sudoers file. Then what will happen? You can connect with the machine, you can access that machine, you can use that machine, but you can't perform sudo operations. That means you can't install any software, you can't change any important configuration files and all. It's not mandatory.
Okay.
So are there any different type of users, Ashok, other than root and normal user?
Only two, sir. Root user, normal.
Only two.
Normal user also we can make as a root user by configuring in the sudoers file. That's it. Two types of users.
Okay.
Good. Fine, guys. I hope you got the clarity. How to enable password-based authentication in the Linux machine. How to connect with the Linux machine by using username and password. What is the sudoers file in the Linux? What is sshd config file in the Linux? So guys, now you just think, if you know all these activities in the project, tomorrow when you are working in the company, what will be your feeling? Tomorrow when you join in the project, when you are working in the real time, your manager will tell you, check the logs of the application by connecting with the Linux machine. Then what is your feeling at that moment?
Very relaxed.
Just imagine. Because you know what is Linux machine, you know how to connect with that, you know what is sshd config file, you know what is sudoers file, you know what is a sudo user, you know how to connect with username and password, you know what is pem file. So if you have all this knowledge, the way that you talk to your team, the way you will talk to your manager and team lead will be different. But if you don't know all these things, if you are not good in the Linux machine, if you are not good in the Linux operating system, then so there will not be any confidence. Your voice modulation will be different. If you know these things, your voice modulation will be in different way. You will talk very confidently when you are talking to the team. If you don't know all these things, your voice will be very low, because there will be some fear in your mind. I don't know Linux, how to check this log file. If any issue comes while you are checking with the log file, so if sometimes it will say permission denied, you will not understand. So knowing the subject is always good. So this subject will give you a lot of confidence to survive in the job tomorrow. And that too, 80 to 90% of the people who are working as a developers with 2 to 3 years experience will not have knowledge on the Linux. They will struggle in the job due to lack of all this information, due to lack of all this knowledge. If you are working in the company as an experienced person, then definitely you will realize what is the importance of these classes, why the Linux is very, very, very important in the real time. If you are not using the Linux machine for the project development or for project deployment, that means you are not a real developer. Windows only for coding purpose, that's it. GUI will be available, we will use it only for coding. For the deployment, for monitoring, everything we will do on the Linux machine only. Okay, so we understood what is sudoers file and what is config file. Can anyone tell me in simple terminology, what is the purpose of sudoers file? What is the purpose of SSHD config file in the Linux?
Sudo file is used to give the admin.
Yes, come on, go ahead.
And SSD is used to change.
Enable password authentication.
Enable the password authentication.
Yes, perfect. And there is one more file is available called bash rc. There is another important configuration file in the Linux machine that is called bash rc file is available. That bash rc file is a hidden file. When I say hidden file, that will start with the dot. When I say hidden file, that will start with the dot. So this bash rc file will be available in the user home directory. So I connected with this machine as a John user. Currently I am in the John user home directory. So if you execute ls-l, any files available in the John user home directory?
No.
Do we have any files in the John user home directory currently? There are no files available in the John user home directory. Now let me execute another command, ls-la. Yes, can you see ls-la? What is the meaning of ls-la?
To see
It will show the hidden
display
files.
the hidden files.
It is going to show you the hidden files available in the directory. Can you see one hidden file called bash rc?
Yes.
Can you see a file called bash rc?
Yes,
Sir.
Yes, bash rc file is available. Let me print the content of the bash rc, cat.bash rc. Okay, so lot of shell scripting is available in the bash rc. Okay, this is the shell scripting. If condition is available, so these are the things available in the bash rc. For loop is available, bash rc. Sir, what is the purpose of this bash rc? This bash rc file is used to set environment variables. In the Windows, we are setting path for Java. So do you remember when you join for core Java classes, faculty will explain how to set path for Java, Java home and all that stuff. Do you remember? Can you tell me how to set path for Java in the Windows
Properties
machine?
of the system.
Environment variables.
System environment variables. We are going to edit the system environment variables. User variables will be available. System variables will be available. Java home is available. Path is available. We will set the path for Java. We will set path for Maven. Okay. So in the Windows, we are having this environment variable, system properties, environment variables are available. But when you go for Linux machine, we are going to use bash rc file to set the environment variables. I want to set a path for Java. I want to set a path for Maven. Then we are going to set them by using bash rc file. In the bash rc file, we are going to set the path. Path is equal to home local bin home path. Bash rc file is used as a environment variable file in the Linux machine. In the Windows, how we are using environment variables to set the path for Java. Similarly, in the Linux, to set path for Java, we are going to use this bash rc file. Okay, so sudoers file is available to give sudo privileges for the user accounts. SSHD config file, which is used to enable password based authentication, and bash rc file is available where you will do path setting in the Linux machine. If you want to set up any path in the Linux machine, then we are going to use bash rc for that. Okay, when I install Java software and all that stuff, I'm going to show you how to use this bash rc file, how to set path for Java, how to set path for Maven in the Linux machine. For now, time being, just remember there are 3 important configuration files in the Linux. And what is the purpose of that file? So 2 files already we used and we are able to achieve our target. Bash rc file we are not using now. Once we go for the software installation in the Linux machine, then I will show you how to set the environment variables in the Linux machine by using this bash rc file. Are you clear? Are you clear with my point?
So is
Yes,
this
sir.
a user level file, Ashok?
Yes, it is a
Bash
user
RC?
level file, sir. For every user,
there
their
any-
own. Here, when you go for environment variables, user variables, system variables will be available. This is specific to every user. In every user home directory, bash rc file will be available. At system level also we can set, at a user level also we can set.
Okay. Good.
Clear? Yeah. So with this we understood what is user management in the Linux, guys. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple users can access single Linux machine at a time and they can perform multitasking. Okay, so when we create the Linux machine by using Amazon Linux, EC2 user is the default user available in the Linux machine. That EC2 user is having sudo privileges in the Linux machine. And for every user, we can create new account to access that Linux machine. So like this, you can create the user, you can set the password for the user, you can see all the users which are available in the Linux. We can switch from one user to another user and we can go to logged in user home directory. We can delete the user, we can delete user along with home directory. We can change the username also. And we are able to connect with the Linux machine by using username and password. Okay, so in the Linux we have 3 important files. One is sudoers file. Here we can give sudo privileges for the user and we are able to enable password based authentication in the Linux machine. So log server details, public IP, username, password. Use below command to connect with the username and password. To connect with the username and password authentication should be enabled in the Linux machine. To connect with Linux machine, to connect with Linux VM using username and password, password authentication. If you to connect with Linux VM using username and password, then password based authentication must be enabled in that Linux machine. Okay, if you have password based authentication enabled, then only we can connect with the Linux machine. We are good. Next one. Here we are able to see all the users available by using cat etc password command. Okay, so many users are available. In the Linux, users will be available, user groups also will be available. So when you create one user, for every user, one user account and one group also will be created. We can create multiple groups and we can add users to the groups also in the Linux machine. To check the groups in the Linux machine, cat/etc/group command. Okay, so EC2 user group, Suresh group, John group, user group. When I create one user, for every user, one group also will be created. When you create one user, one group also will be created. You can create groups also here. Sudo group add sudo group add. I'm creating one group called DevOps group. Sudo group add command. Okay, how we are having user add command, similarly we are having group add command. With this, a group will be created. It is asking password because it is admin activity. So by using John user, I'm able to create one group. How to check the groups available? Cat etc group. So you can see DevOps group is created. DevOps group is created. Now ID John. So John ID is a command which will give you the user information. John is user. This is the John user ID and this is the John group ID. Currently John belongs to only one group, guys. Okay, working with user groups in the Linux machine, working with users, working with user groups in the Linux, working with users, working with user groups in the Linux machine. Okay, so when we create a user in the Linux machine, for every user, one user group also will be created with the given username. Okay, so you are using WhatsApp group. So when you have WhatsApp group with multiple users, if you send a message in the group, it will go to all the users. Similarly, when I want to give some permissions for the users, then I can give at the group level. So in the Linux, you can create multiple users and you can create multiple groups also. One user can belongs to multiple group. In one group, multiple users also can be available. So here, when we create a user in the Linux machine, for every user, one user group also will be created with the given username. Okay, so how to see all the groups which are available? By using cat etc groups. Okay, display all groups available. Display all the groups which are available in the Linux machine. How to create a new group? Create new group. Create new group. To create a new group, sudo group add group name. Sudo group add and group name command we are going to use. Okay, the next important thing, I want to add John user to the DevOps group. Okay, here I'm using a command called id command with John. So can you tell me John belongs to how many groups now? Guys, John user belongs to how many groups now?
One group.
One.
John user belongs to only one group now. Now there is a DevOps group is available, cat/etc/groups available. Okay, /etc/groups. Cat, no such file directory. We are able to see that, right? Just group, not groups. cat/etc/group. So it is going to display all the groups which are available here, which is used to create a new group. There is a group called DevOps group is available. Now, John user is belongs to only his own group called John group. Now I want to add the John user to DevOps group now. Are you guys getting my point? I want to add John user to DevOps group. So to add the user to the group, add user to group. Add user to group. For this we are going to use sudo user mode command. A new command we are using, guys, which is called user mode command. Okay, user mode command, add group -ag. -ag nothing but add the user to the group. Okay, to which group you want to add, give the group name. Which user you want to add to the group, give the user name. Okay, this is the command which is used to add the user to the group. Okay, working with user groups in the Linux machine. When we create a user in the Linux, for every user, one user group also will be created with the given username. So to display all the groups available in the Linux machine, we are going for cat command with etc and group. So create a new group in the Linux machine. So sudo group add command we use to create a new group in the Linux machine. I want to add one user to the new group. User mode command -ag add to the group. This is the name of the group and this is the name of the user. Okay. So before that, I'm showing you what are the groups that John is belongs to. ID John. ID is used to give the all the information related to that user account. John is belongs to John group. Now let me add the John to DevOps group also now. cat/etc/group. DevOps JTRP is the group name. Okay. Sudo user mode -ag group name, which is DevOps group username, which is John. That's it. So with this, John user is added to DevOps group, guys. Now see, earlier John is belongs to only John group. Now John is belongs to DevOps group. Okay, so this is the command we are going to use to add one user to the particular group. If you want to add user to the particular group, then we are going to use this command. Okay,
What are the
sir,
uses
why
of
we
this?
need to learn this concept? Let me show you. Tomorrow, we are going to work with a tool called Docker. Tomorrow, we are going to work with a tool called Docker tool. So to set up the Docker in the Linux machine, when I'm going to set up the Docker in the Linux machine, I'm going to use this command. Can you see this command? Guys,
Yes,
can you
yes.
see this command? What is the purpose of this command? What is this command? Can you read this?
Creating a group to the user, easy to user.
Adding EC to
Adding a
user to
group,
the
yeah.
Docker group.
Docker group.
So if you want to set up the Docker software in the Linux machine, if you want to use that Docker software in the Linux machine, then you need to add that user to the Docker group. Here, what we are doing here, can you see this come here? Sudo user mode, add the EC to user to the Docker group. Can you see what I am doing here?
Ubuntu.
We are adding Ubuntu user to the Docker group. You see, guys, all these documents are used for DevOps batch to set up the tools on the Linux machine. Okay, how to set up Docker software in the Amazon Linux machine. These are the commands we need to use. How to install Docker in the Ubuntu Linux machine. These are the commands. Tomorrow, I want to set up Jenkins software in the Linux machine. Okay, so these are the commands we are going to use to set up Jenkins in the Linux machine. Okay, I want to set up MySQL database in the Linux machine. Okay, these are the commands we are going to use to set up MySQL database in the Linux machine. I want to set up Sonar Cube tomorrow for code review. How to set up the Sonar Cube in the Linux machine. How to set up Nexus in the Linux machine. How to set up Kubernetes cluster in the Linux machine. So everything I'm going to teach you on the Linux machine so that you will get the real time. Real-time project means infrastructure should be ready. Then only you will get that real-time project development feeling. I can install all these tools in the Windows machine also. It's like a training. It's not like a project development. When you want to develop a project with real-time standards, you have to follow how companies are following. That's why we are calling it as Java real-time project development. So we will set up all these tools on the Linux machine. Now you understand why I have started Linux before teaching all these tools. If I start tools directly, I need to teach all the tools on the Windows machine. In the real time, all the tools will be available on the Linux machine. So there will be some gap, whatever you are learning and what is happening in the company, there will be some gap. So to cover that gap, what we need to do? First learn the Linux, then learn the tools with the Linux operating system. Then you are 100% ready to go for the interview. So that is the reason I told you. So first, either we should start the tools or we should start the Linux. Some people ask for tools, some people ask for Linux. I told my choice will be Linux. So everyone is agreed for Linux. That's, I need to appreciate you people. Because with this Linux knowledge, tomorrow when we are going to learn the tools on the Linux operating system, it will be very easy for you. So you see, all my documents are ready. Jenkins is set up in the Linux machine. Okay, so to install Jenkins software in the Linux machine, the script is already ready. Install Docker in the Linux machine. Install Docker Compose in the Linux machine. Install Jenkins in the Linux machine. set up Kubernetes in the Linux machine, set up Sonar in the Linux machine, set up Nexus in the Linux machine, set up ELK stack in the Linux machine, set up the DevOps project in the Linux machine, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes integration. Ansible, we don't need it. It is a DevOps tool. MySQL database setup in the Linux machine. All the documents are ready. All the tools I'm going to teach you on the Linux operating system. So that's why we are learning the Linux commands now. Okay, so we can add user to the group in the Linux machine by using this command. In the same way, delete user from the group. We can delete user from the group. Okay, so to delete user from the group, what is the command, guys? So we are going to use sudo g password command. I want to delete the user from the group. What is the username is available and what is the group name is available. Okay, when you want to add the user mode command. When you want to delete the user, g password. Okay, so that user I want to remove this user from this particular group. This is the command. This command is used to display what all the groups available in the Linux machine. This command is used to create new group in the Linux machine. This command is used to add the user to particular group in the Linux machine. This command is used to delete the user from particular group in the Linux machine. Okay, these are the commands. Let's try this. Currently, John belongs to how many groups? John belongs to John group and DevOps group. Let me delete the John from the DevOps group. Sudo sudo g password -d. Username is John. Group name is DevOps group. Okay. Yes. Removing user from the group DevOps group. Now check ID John. John is removed from DevOps group. Earlier, John is available in the John group and DevOps group. Now I have given g password command. I removed the John user from that group. Okay, now John belongs to only one group. Clear? Good. So with this, we understood what is user management and group management in the Linux machine. Next one, the next topics that we need to discuss in the Linux operating system. So those are, what are the pending topics that we need to discuss in the Linux machine? Those are, first one is file permissions we need to discuss. File permissions and ownership. Okay. For this, we are going to use chmod command and chown command. And the next one, the most important thing we need to discuss about some networking commands in the Linux. How to download a file in the Linux machine. Okay, how to download a file in the Linux machine. So how to check the IP address of the Linux machine. Networking commands we are going to learn. Then third step, we are going to learn package managers in the Linux machine. And we are going to discuss about package managers, nothing but software's installation. I want to install Java in the Linux machine. I want to install Git in the Linux machine. I want to install Maven in the Linux machine. Package managers. And finally, we will discuss about Linux architecture. Okay, these are the 4 topics which are pending. These 4 topics we are going to complete in 2 to 3 days. The next 2 to 3 days we are going to finish our Linux discussion, which is required for the Java developers. After this Linux is completed, then we will start with the cloud computing. AWS cloud we are going to start. Able to follow me?
Yes, Ashok.
Good. So, any questions, anyone, regarding today's session?
Yes, sir. What is the benefit of adding user to the group? Like if you don't add, then what will be the disadvantages?
Yeah, in the file permissions, you will understand that. So now simple example. When I add user to the group, suppose I want to give you a permission for all the users. Okay. Instead of giving permission for the user one by one, if they belongs to one group, I will give the permission at the group level so that it will be applicable for everyone. For example, you have 30 friends. So you want to send a message to 30 friends. So individually, if you send, lot of time. If you add 30 users to a WhatsApp group, if you send a message in the group, everybody will get that message. Similarly, when I want to give some permissions for multiple users, if they are belongs to one group, I will give the permission at the group level so that applicable for every user. If they are not belongs to group, individually I need to manage the permissions.
Okay. Also, while providing the privilege to the pseudo user while you were using, so there you had used all keyword. So instead of all
keyword means they
we
can
are providing
perform
all the privilege to that.
yeah,
right?
they can execute all the commands in the Linux from any location.
Okay, instead of all, is there any other
Yeah,
keyword
you can
that
specify particular command also. What kind of commands they want to execute, you can specify the command name also.
okay, so there we have to give the command name
Yes,
instead of
right,
all.
right. Instead of all, you can specify them what they can do particularly.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, can you use a group name, if you have given like group username colon all instead of group colon all?
Where?
While all from permission you have given to particular user, some particular user colon all something you have given.
No, sir. Permissions will give at the user level. Okay, means in the sudoverse file, we'll give at the user level. Normal file permissions I'm talking about. Next topic. There you will understand what is the purpose of the group.
Okay.
Okay. In the sudoverse file, we will configure users
groups and
with the
everything.
privileges, not groups.
For sudoer files, you made that entry, and once you added those credential and you control X and Y, you press those save and exit from that, and he got those access.
Yes.
Let's suppose we enter and we haven't added anything, and we want to come out. Do we need to give the same?
If you press Control X, it will close by default.
Okay, I will be come out of the
Yes,
that directory.
will come out from that. Yes.
Thanks.
Sir, I have one query related to yesterday's topic.
Sir, your
What is
voice
the
is
difference
very low,
between?
sir. Can you speak loudly?
One second.
Can you speak loudly, sir?
Yeah, sure. Sir, I have one query related to yesterday's session. So, what is the difference between delete user and delete user with the home directory?
Sir,
Can't the
delete
home
user,
directory?
Yeah. I got it.
Can't the home directory be deleted with?
Whenever you see ls-l ls-l/home, for every user one home directory is available in the right.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you see cat/etc/password. So EC2 user having this is EC2 user home directory. This is Suresh user home directory, right? Whenever you use just user dill, user account will be deleted, but this directory will not be deleted from the home directory.
Any reason behind this? Without
so that is the syntax.
user,
that is a command they are giving. Just user will be deleted because whenever user dill, maybe they will have some files in this directory, right? So by default, those files also will be deleted. That's why for safe side, they are deleting only user home directory will not be deleted. If you want to delete that home directory also, --remove. Forcefully, you are deleting everything belongs to that user.
Okay. We can delete
I think when
user.
I think when we recreate the user and his backup would be available.
Yes, home directory will be available. The old files will be available in that. So that is the reason when we are deleting a user, you can delete in two ways. If you use just user dill, only delete user account. That's it. Okay.
Can we
user
execute
dill means,
one now?
Huh?
Sir, can we execute one after other?
You can do it. But if you use this, only account will be deleted. If you use this account along with user home directory.
If we execute first command, in the second command, there won't be account, right? Is that okay?
So you will get error, na? Account is not available. Already account is deleted. Then if you execute this command first, user account deleted. When you execute this command, you will get the error. Manually, you need to delete the home directory.
Okay, yeah, got it. Thank you, sir.
Hello,
Yes,
sir. Sir, user home directory. What is the use of that folder for specific, like every user?
Sir, that is your home directory. Whatever you have all permissions to the directory, you can create files, you can modify the files, you can edit the files, you can execute your files from the directory.
So
one user cannot perform operations on the other user home directory. Suppose When I connected to this machine as a EC2 user, I connected to this machine as a John user. So I have my own home directory. In my home directory, I will have all the privileges. I can do anything in my home directory.
Yeah.
You got my point?
Yes. So it is like for a specific user, one workspace provided.
Yeah, it's like a work in the developer terminology. We can say it is our workspace.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
We can do everything.
Yeah.
Every
Okay,
user will have their own home directory.
Yes, correct, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this home directory is created automatically, or we have to manage it?
No, sir. Whenever the user is created, automatically this user home directory will be created.
All right. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I am facing, sir, some issue. I have sent you on WhatsApp. Can you please check, sir?
Regarding?
Sir, actually, I am getting continuously logged out of server, sir.
Yes,
on
sir.
Linux.
Even I am also facing that issue. You need to reconnect to that machine. I need to
No, sir,
tell you the command to.
I
I
am
will
actually,
give you
sir,
the command where you can do the timeout setup, sir. So it is getting timed out. That's why you are logged out from that machine. Okay. I will send you the command. I received your video. I will send you the command.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yeah.
when we create when we do sudo switch user, sir, like from EC2 I'm changing to John like this now, sir. Then actually I have to change my CD tilde I have to type to change to home directory of new user, sir. Like when I switch user, why it is not switching to home directory of the user, sir?
Can you repeat your question?
Sir, suppose we logged in as EC2 user now, sir. Then if I sudo switch use SU and if I type John, then it is switching to John, sir. But if I type ls, it is saying like you cannot access this directory. Means it is in the EC2 home directory only.
Yes, sir. So
Again,
for
I have
that,
to
what
switch
you need to do is when you are switching, I want to switch to EC2 user, use give like this. Okay. Then it will go to EC2 user home directory directly. Now you see permission denied. Sudo password for John home John permission denied. Sudo su EC2 user. I switch to EC2 user. After switching, I need to give like this. Then I go to EC2 user home directory. Yeah, you need to give like this to switch to the home directory. By default, it is not coming, sir.
Okay, sir. I asked why it is like that. Like why I have to switch when I switch user, it should switch to their home directory only.
No, that is the default Linux behavior, sir. We can't do anything.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, they're switching user account. They're not switching the home directory.
We are creating these groups and everything, right, Ashok?
Yeah.
So those are performed by admin or?
No, sir. Everything admin. You will just connect to the machine. You will get the files and you will see the files. That's it. Everything.
So normal user also can create the groups.
Normal user also can create the group.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ashok.
All right, guys. Good. So the pending topics in the Linux. So these 4 topics are there, guys. So Linux architecture. And I think I will share one video for the Linux architecture. I have recorded one small video, 5 minutes video on the Linux architecture. So today I will share that in the group, just go through that once. And in the Monday session, we are going to talk about file permissions and ownerships in the Linux, how to make the changes to the file permissions, how to change owner from owner of the file. Currently, I created the file as a John user. I want to change owner to some other user. So for that, we are going to use the chmod command, chown command in the Linux machine, how to work with networking commands in the Linux, how to install a software in the Linux by using package managers. Those things we are going to discuss. I think mostly in another 2 to 3 days, we will complete our discussion related to Linux operating system. And all of you, please practice. These are very, 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 very important for you to work in the real time. Okay. So with this, I'm stopping for today, guys. So tomorrow, Sunday, holiday for us. We don't have a class. We have the next class on Monday. So before coming to Monday morning, please complete all your practice related to Linux. I hope you are enjoying the
Sir,
Linux
you said
classes.
you share video to the group?
Yes, sir. WhatsApp group is there. Right?
WhatsApp
Then I will
group.
share it.
I haven't had that group, sir.
Why, sir? If you are enrolled, they will be adding you to the WhatsApp group. No?
No, haven't got any invitation.
Yeah, just send that mail to admin team. They will add you to the group.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to upload my notes in the website, guys. So please go through this and practice before coming to Monday session. Okay. If anybody facing any difficulty while doing the practice, okay, you can post in our WhatsApp group. I am also part of the group. I will reply to you. So tomorrow is a holiday.
Yeah, sir. Before scheduling any interview, the people are asking, do you have experience on Linux? So what the reply we have to say
Yeah,
to
you
them?
can say that. I have knowledge on the Linux operating system. I can work with Linux machines.
They are asking that how many years of experience.
You
So
can say
we
from last 1 year I am working with Linux.
okay, sir. Good.
So for
Guys,
3 to
I
4
have
years of
uploaded the notes.
so 3 to 4 years of experience, guys, they will ask like scenario based questions or they will ask basics. Ashok?
Scenario based, everything scenario based only.
Okay.
So, do we have any, set of questions, interview questions for Linux?
Yes, sir. I do have almost 30 to 40 questions on the Linux. I will share the document. Once Linux classes are completed, I will share that document.
Okay. Yeah.
Sir, either in a way to join from mobile?
No, sir. You need to join from the system. If you join from the mobile, you will feel sleepy, man. And guys, one more thing. Once your practice is completed, so you can just stop the machine that we are using. Okay. So whatever the machine we have, you can just select this machine and go here. Instance state is there now. Stop the instance so that the machine will be stopped. So again, when I come back to the Monday session, I will start the same machine for our practice. This is just safe side. It is a free tire machine only. You will not get any bill. But anyhow, safe side, you can just stop that machine, whatever you are using. Once your practice is completed, you can stop it. All good? Yeah. So someone who asked about the Linux architecture, guys, what is the Linux architecture and all that stuff. So recently I have posted one video regarding that Linux architecture, very simple video regarding the Linux architecture. I will give you the link. Yeah. So Linux introduction, Linux architecture video I have posted. So how to work with directories and files in the Linux, how to work with the text editors in the Linux. The video is available. So I will share this video in our group, guys, so that you can go through that. What is the file system of the Linux? What is the architecture of the Linux? I explained in 13 minutes of time. So before coming to the class, you can just go through that video once so that you will have better understanding in the class.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, good guys. Thank you. With this,
Thank
I'm
you, sir.
stopping now. Yeah, bye bye. Have a great day, guys.
Right. Bye.